Hello, my name is Alana Green, and for those of you that don't know me, I am a spiritual teacher, mentor, a healer, coach, spiritual visionary. I have a lot of titles, but none of that matters. I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing here today, what I'm sharing, where we're going, and some shifts that are going on. So I started my journey, just to give you a little of the backstory, and then I'll tell you what we're doing here today. I started here, about 2020, the world shifted for everyone, and things became very different, which we know. But for me, in that time frame, I felt called to something more. I've always felt that calling and didn't quite understand it. Now I know that that feeling is your soul seeking more, seeking understanding, seeking fulfillment of itself. And so this is what I tell people. I started a podcast called That Feeling of More, which you may have seen on my YouTube channel already. But there's been some shifts and some changes. That's why it's been kind of quiet. And I've been waiting, and I changed the name to the Sacred Circle for Spiritual Warriors, which I'm going to talk about. And the reason why I was waiting, I kind of just paused to allow this intuition for what we're going to create here in this series today. But to go back to my story, so I used to work with the Canadian Red Cross. I was a provincial manager here for PEI in Canada, but I felt called to something more. Like I said, I've always felt that feeling, but didn't quite understand what that meant. So I very much followed my intuition, which I didn't then know at the time. Kind of felt like a hypocrite because I did do some training on intuition, even though I didn't quite understand it myself. But I made a choice to leave my job, my full-time job at that time, and go into entrepreneurship, be self-employed when there was a whole lot of chaos and obviously an unsure environment, right, at that point in time. A lot of shifts, a lot of changes to happen at that time. And I left the safe path, and I followed that feeling of there's something I need to go do, although I didn't know what. And then as I've learned, that's my intuition. That's your gift that we all have. That's given within us. And we're not used to following it, so I didn't quite know that at the time that's what it was, but now I understand it because I've continuously left safe, secure spaces to start something different that I didn't quite know where I was going. So I left my job. I was working with a community with Kathleen Cameron, who was my mentor for many, many years, for over 3 years. I joined her community, and I didn't know what that was supposed to look like at that time. When I went to join her community, she's like, I said, I just need to do this all the time. She opened my mind between her and the program that she was using with Bob Proctor, where that was my start. It really opened up my mind. And somewhere along the way, about a year and a half down the journey, I realized this is a spiritual journey. It's not just collecting information to know and understand myself more. It was literally opening the floodgates to who I am and what I'm meant to be. And that was just the very first step. The awakening process happens continuously once you kind of start there, right? But that was just the one way that I was connected through the beautiful soul Kathleen Cameron and Bob, and then I followed her in her community. I was in her community as a coach for over 2.5, 3 years, and then somewhere in there I was called to become a Reiki Master. So I'm also a Reiki Master. And it was one of those things that even when I started this journey 5 years ago, I had no idea what Reiki was. I was just in this process of allowing these things to come through to me. And so I trusted it. I trusted that intuition. I trusted the things that showed up when they needed to. I became a Reiki Master. And it was actually, excuse me, there was a couple of instances that happened. There was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when the community was together in Miami. We were on the beach and had this incredible experiences with a bunch of colleagues of mine that were on the beach that morning. And one of the things that came through for me as a download was, I'm here to raise the voice. And I'm like, here to raise the voice about what? What does that even mean? And as I continued to listen, the message I received was, I'm here to raise the voice about spirituality. And it's not just one voice. It is all of our voices. And that's what started the podcast called That Feeling of More. And originally when I started it, I was bringing people on, spiritual entrepreneurs, to share their journey so that when other people heard their journey, they could recognize themselves in each other's journey, because that's the purpose. We are supposed to learn from others through other people's journey. And I would have conversations with colleagues, and we would have these conversations like, this might sound crazy. This is totally weird. But there's more to it than that. It's about allowing this understanding to come through us. It's a remembering that we are going through. So that's why I started the podcast, and I just invited a bunch of beautiful, you can go back on my YouTube channel and see them, but I invited all of these beautiful souls on to share their journey, to share their stories, to share their voice. And then somewhere along the way, I was also called to help entrepreneurs, and so I went to go send to kind of give a little more backstory to that inspiration. I was actually on my last trip to see our team 2 years ago in May, to connect with all of the beautiful souls in Toronto and honor the team. And I went to go send Reiki to a colleague, and I went to connect just to the energy, to send that Reiki energy or to connect to the energy. And I got this download, again, this knowing, this feeling of something, and it was emotional. It was highly emotional, and it was grief, shame, all this heavy feeling. And the message that came through for it was, alongside it, was there was more to do. There's more healing to happen. I knew all of that guilt, that shame, that feeling, that heavy feeling was not mine. It was actually the collective, because it wasn't something I had created. It was something that was given to me. And I literally, on the plane, although I didn't want to sound crazy, I really wanted to create a voice note for myself on my phone, but then I'm looking around me and like, here I am trying to make, spirituality not sound crazy. And I'm like, I didn't want to go ranting on my phone while I'm bawling my face off about this download that I received. So instead I journaled like 5 pages. I couldn't stop. My hands were cramped. But that was the message. The message was very clear of all the things where I was in that community, and helping in the way I did was where I was supposed to be at that time. And where I was going was different. It just looked a little different. There's more healing to do was the message. And I didn't know what that meant. So literally that weekend, I got together with Kathleen and I said, I need to go and figure out what this is. I don't know where I'm going and what I'm doing. I literally said that. I don't know where I'm going and what I'm doing, but healing is involved. And I just appreciated her for holding the space for me and allowing me to have the journey I had within her community. And I just knew I needed to go figure out the next step for me. So I continued to listen to my intuition and try to figure things out in my own way. But when I left, one of the things, like I said, I got was that I was supposed to help spiritual entrepreneurs. But very, very immediately after that thought came through was like, I don't have my own business. I work with somebody else's business, but I didn't have my own. So how can I help other people on their journey until I figure it out on my own? So that's what I spent the last 2 years doing, figuring it out, trying all the different things, launching all the different, listening to all the different messages, learning from lots of different people, and getting different input of different ways to do things. And now what I've learned over those 2 years is that there is no one way. And the same thing when I was in that community and branching off into what I've created now called Spirituality Amplified, where it's a community where we bring entrepreneurs and spiritual seekers together in one space, because it's never about one method, one modality, one way. We all learn different ways and through different modalities, and each one of them is leading us down the right path in our journey. So it takes thousands of us that are doing this light work to make change, because it takes thousands of different ways for us to go down the journey, even at different points in our journey. We need different things at different points. So there is no competition. There are people out there that need to hear our voice, that need to hear our perspective, our own unique voice. Even if you take out every single Reiki Master, we all do it very differently. We all have our own experiences and our own perceptions and all of the different modalities that we've connected with along our journey, we bring to every single one of our sessions. So none of us do it the same. So even if you're doing the same modality, the way your own perceptions, the things that you've brought, the filters that you brought through in your life, make you very unique. And that's why when I created Spirituality Amplified, which is a free community for people to connect to each other and to connect to other leaders and other facilitators and other practitioners that they may not connect to in their current path, so that we can all collectively come together and share each other's modalities and find what feels right for you. What's the next step? Follow the curiosity and the intuition for you to find what's next on your journey. And because I know there's no competition, if all of us are in the same room, it makes it so much easier for the person who needs some support to find the support they need versus going to all these different places and locations to find who they need or what support they are seeking. So that's where this feeling of more came to, or has come from and showed up now, is that I know in this space, I now know in this space, through my 2 years of my last journey, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like I said, I originally, when I left, I was supposed to help spiritual entrepreneurs, but that didn't feel safe because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what that looked like. And I had no reputation to be able to give that any oomph, any validation to be able to support others when I hadn't gone through that journey on my own. So now I've gone through the journey and now I know what I'm meant to do. That feeling has come back very, very much stronger. And the more I show up in that alignment of myself, the easier my journey becomes. And this is the thing I want to share for you, is when you are in full alignment of your gifts, your voice, you let go of some of the stuff that we've been holding on to, because that's another part of our journey. We try to go through with who we are, who we've been trained to become this version of ourselves that shares our whole truth from our heart. And we also carry this fear. Almost everybody in this community has this fear of being seen, fear of visibility, and there's a reason for that. There's the witch wound, there's a whole bunch of these things that we've been holding on to. And so every month within Spirituality Amplified, our community, we host monthly events to help people to have some understanding, to have awareness, and they're free events to be able to attend, to get some more awareness, some understanding, so that you can continue to pick and choose the ways that you need help and support to let go of the things that we've been trained to be and become who we are meant to be. So that's what we do within Spirituality Amplified. The other thing I noticed that when I was doing interviews for my podcast called That Feeling of More, I was connecting with these beautiful souls, these beautiful entrepreneurs, and every single one of us were sharing, the message I kept receiving from everyone was that this is a lonely journey and that we feel like we've been alone on this journey for an awfully long time. Most of us have had intuitive or gifts all of our life. And I could tell you, I didn't believe that for myself, but when I look back, I could definitely see where there was things that were showing up, but I just didn't pick up on it at that point. So we've always had these gifts, but because of society and all of the things that are going on around us, we haven't been able to trust those gifts. We haven't been able to really, truly embrace those gifts. And so it's felt like a lonely journey. So I've also created a space for spiritual entrepreneurs to connect, collaborate, and create together. It's called the Spiritual Collective. Every week we have a call to connect, collaborate, share wins, share things that we're working on, share successes, and also share struggles to be able to help continue the journey forward. Because this is the biggest thing I know. And I can tell this from my bones, from my heart, from my soul, is that we are not meant to be on this journey alone. Whether you're a spiritual seeker and trying to understand your own journey and your own individual self and learn more about you, or you're a spiritual entrepreneur creating light and gifts for sharing your gift with others, either way, we are not meant to do this on our own. We are meant to do this together in a collective, in a community. So this is why I'm here. This is why I'm sharing this message. Even though I'm not completely knowing exactly where this is leading me, but I didn't know where this was leading me 5 years ago, and I just keep trusting my intuition. And what is given to me is I'm here to create this series. So what is this series? What is a spiritual warrior? So I'm creating a spiritual warrior training series because I know part of what I'm supposed to do here is help people to become part of the rise, to become part of the shift. There are those that are on their spiritual journey that are beginning to understand themselves and know that we have these gifts, like myself. I knew I had something powerful within me, but I had no idea how to share it or how to express it, how to explain it, let alone have somebody else. Like I literally just wanted somebody to say, this is what you were meant to do. And that is what I do for people. I help them see what they are meant to do. One of the gifts that I've received is that when somebody expresses to me what they feel like they should be doing, and when they express their truth to me, I feel it in my bones, I feel it in my soul, and I tell them, this is your purpose. But I can't do it for them. They need to choose to do it for themselves. So that's why I've decided to create this series. I'm going to offer here a space, because I know one of the things too that we get kind of caught up in the business world, especially online, is that there needs to be weekly lunch or monthly lunches, or there needs to be a strategy or whatever. And as far as I'm concerned, yes, there's strategy to it. But if you just show up authentically as you with your own truth, just as I'm doing today, then the right people will always show up. You will bring to you, when you speak your truth and you are completely aligned, I tell you from the bottom of my heart, everything you need will show up. The opportunities, the resources, everything you need will show up when you truly just show up as you, authentically you, and share the gift that is you. So that is what I'm doing. And I'm sharing this from the most authentic place of like, I don't know where this is going or what we're doing here, but this is what I've been told to do. This is what I've been led to do, is to create a step-by-step series that isn't a launch. You don't need to register. You don't need to constantly get emails. But if you commit to following me on this journey, then you will find the pieces that you need to become who you are supposed to be. To move you from being that seeker of trying to just understand yourself, your soul, and who you are meant to be. Step into being a soul-led entrepreneur and sharing your spirit and your gifts, to being a spiritual warrior. What does a spiritual warrior mean? I got this message more than a few months ago from a friend of mine who does some channeling. And if you're interested to connect with her, I would be more than happy to connect you. But please reach out. One of the things that came through was a spiritual warrior. It's come up for me a few times. But what came through in that channeled message wasn't about being a warrior that fights. It is not about the fight. It is about holding the line, holding space for others to be able to find this within themselves, to rise together. We don't need to be perfect. We don't even have it all figured out. And most of the time, we feel like we need to be ready, and we're never ready anyway. We don't wait for that feeling. There is a shift happening in the world. There is the collective. You see the chaos, the trauma, the toxicity that's going on in the world. And the reason why that's showing up is because that's the contrast. And in order for the contrast to change, the balance to happen, we need to be out of balance to become back in balance. And this chaos, this toxicity, is the unbalancing. So the more of us that show up in our light, this is the remembering that we need to have happen. We need to step up. We are being called to rise, to tip the scales back, to be out of chaos, to be in balance, to be in peace. The more of us that continue to share our journey is to move us forward. So going back to the conversation of when I said there was more healing to do. That was it. The message I received, there was more healing to do. And at first I thought it was me. I need to go do the healing. I have the power to go do the healing. That we have all of the things within ourselves to heal our body. Even the diseases and all the different illnesses that are going on in our life. We have all of the things within us. I know this. I know that we have the authenticity to be able to share this, to create change in our world. I have all of these beliefs. But I'm not the one that is supposed to change everyone. But what I've done is connecting with spiritual entrepreneurs who are here to make a change and are here to make the shift. Each one of them is part of that change. So I'm here to empower more of you to step up to that calling. To the calling you're feeling, that feeling of more, you are meant to step up. That's what it's for. It's giving you the direction, and you've been connected to me for a reason, or hearing this story for a reason. So I'm helping those that are ready to become spiritual warriors as well. Not to fight the big fight, but to stand tall, to speak unapologetically, to show up authentically as themselves, to hold the line, to collectively come together and be the light. I remember I was on a breath work with a colleague, and I received this vision of being arm in arm with this line of people. That's what came through, was the spiritual warriors. Arm in arm, holding the line together. So that's what I'm here to do. Because the shift we're seeing is the remembering. All of these different gifts, all of these different energetic healings and modalities, they aren't just passions. They are needed in this world to make this shift. It's recognized in a lot of places, but it's growing and continuing to grow for a reason. The more we show up as we truly are, unapologetically, authentically, the more we can tip the scales of change. This is how we lead. And I keep feeling like I was talking with spiritual entrepreneurs last fall. We were all felt like this feeling of we were getting ready to be ready. We knew there's a change that's happening. And then we all felt like we needed to get louder. We all needed to show up. We all needed to start being visible. But it's not by getting louder. It's about speaking our truth, being more us, and being more vulnerable, and just showing up. unapologetically. The people that are changing or that are making impacts in the world right now, that are rocking the world, are also showing up in that way, confident, unapologetically, and speaking their truth. So the more of us that rise together, collectively, in a community, the more that we show up unapologetically, authentically, speaking our truth, the more we are going to make a shift in this world. Collectively, we rise together. And it isn't just about one person, one way, one thing. It is every single one of us coming together collectively, arm in arm, to make an impact. It's not about one person. We feel like one person can't make a difference, but the more that we show up together, one, each and each other, we create a change, right? So that's what this series is here for you, to guide you one step at a time, from clarity to purpose to sharing your gifts with the world. You don't need to be ready. You just need to begin. So watch along. Integrate anything that kind of comes up for you. If it does, if something curiosity, please feel free to drop in the comments any questions or things that I can support you with. Take this information and act on it. Each video in this series, they're going to kind of stack on each other. I want you to take action from at least one of them. One piece out of every video. Take one action. Because it's not about just sitting there in peace and love. It is. It is all about unconditional love. But it's also about action. We need both pieces. So I want you to watch along, follow along, hit subscribe, follow along, and like I said, whatever stands out for you, allow that to be the right action. Write it down and act in it. Let's rise, one by one, all together, because the world needs us now more than ever. But we need you exactly as you are. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, you are. You're here for that specific reason. So I would love to connect. Feel free to connect with me. And I'm going to share, as we continue forward, some other opportunities for you to continue this growth. Thank you so much. Sending you love and gratitude to each and every one of you. And we'll see you next time.